declining the Crown-inspired legislation. So the last couple of sessions that we've had, we talked about movement lawyering. What is movement lawyering and what, there you go, Artemis. What is movement lawyering and what do movement lawyers have to navigate when it comes to our clients? Today, we're going to dive into specific issues and ways that you can show up as movement lawyers and not necessarily in the traditional ways lawyers show up, right? So when you think of a lawyer, how do you think of a lawyer showing up, working as a lawyer? What comes to mind? Suit, like Mr. Dante, suit, yes. What else? What else? How else do lawyers show? When you think of a lawyer, what are they doing? What is it?
I said proper grammar.
Proper grammar. Okay, speaking in a way that, articulates the things very well. What else? What else do you think of? Is a lawyer litigating? What does that look like? In your mind, when you think of a lawyer, what are they actually doing? Arguing, right? Are they in court? Yes. If they're not in court, they're probably preparing for court, right? So there's so many things that you can do with a law degree. There's so many things you can do as a lawyer that doesn't mean stepping into court. And there are even more things that you can do as a movement lawyer that has nothing to do with stepping into court. And it really allows you to navigate with the people and the community that you love, the community that you want to hold up and hold together, right? And so today we're going to talk women, law, and policy. And we're going to talk about the Crown-inspired legislation, right? Now, we know the legislative process, right? So we're going to kind of just do a quick little run through. When bills and policy come from ideas, nothing more. They're ideas that people have about how people should interact and react with one another, how we should move in spaces. And they put together a set of rules to make sure that that happens, right? And so whatever law that is on the books really came from an idea that someone had. So our community came up with an idea. They didn't like being messed up with when it came to our natural hairstyles, right? And we'll learn historically, hair for Black folks has meant something deep, right? When we think of our hair, what do we think of? What is it? But when you think of your hair, when we talk about our hair, what do we think of? Braids. Beautiful. Curly. Kinky. You know what I'm saying? It's our hair. But historically, you could actually have your slave in status determined based on your hair texture, right? That there was a law in Louisiana that said because Black women had such beautiful hair and it was so injurious to white women for us to walk around with our hair like that they came up with a law called the Tijon Law. Anyone ever heard Tijon Law? Tijon Law said Black women had to cover their hair. Who's seen those pictures of Marie Laveau with her hair covered in that white scarf, right? She wore that because the law said she had to. Whether you were enslaved or free, if you were a Black woman, you had to have your hair covered if you were in public. And they would wear colorful scarves to be like, okay, bet, you're going to make us wear the ugly scarf. We're going to wear cute scarves, right? So even the colorful scarves were protests. But the reason behind the scarves was because white community thought our hair was too inflammatory for it to be seen in public, right? And then we know the stories of the people, the women and the children who've had their hair cut so they can participate in sports, locks taken out, braids unbraided, people being fired from work, told they're unprofessional for having their hair in a natural hairstyle, which we all know protective styles are necessary, right? Easy styles are necessary for us to navigate life. And so to not be able to wear your hair in the style that you choose, that's the easiest and best for you, representation for you, so that you can go to work or have housing or be educated, that's kind of messed up, right? And so Black women were like, no, we are going to take that. So Crown-inspired bills started popping up all over the country. Louisiana put together a plan with some dope women we were going to push back and get our own bills passed. And the work that we did, which was different than other spaces, was that we listened to the community. And we let the community lead how that work was going to look. And because of that, New Orleans got the first citywide Crown-inspired bill passed in the country. And Louisiana was the first city in the Deep South to get a Crown-inspired bill passed. Okay? So today, we're going to take a journey in what it looks like to navigate as a movement lawyer with community to make things different. Is that cool? Awesome. All right, let me go to the next. Oh, Mimi, I realized you were right there. We're going to go to the next slide. So this, just introducing Detangled once again. Damien is on the other side and I'm on this side, and together we use art and advocacy together to bring out communal change, and this program is one of those. Today we got some dope panelists. I will start with this wonderful young lady right here, who is my daughter, Cameron Weeks, who is actually the reason why our organization, from our perspective, chose this because of issues she was having with hair in school. I have the wonderful Artemis King, who, just showing off a little bit. I wore my Free to Be Free, which she made me this vest and inspiration for one of our films that we did on Black women's hair. Y'all know Tueri. Y'all been with her for a while. That's the power. That's the power. That's it. Unfortunately, Michelle Craig can't join us today because she had a client meeting, but we also have my dear friend, Charm Taylor. So, for those of you who live under a rock and don't know who Charm is, Charm Taylor is a phenomenal artist in this city who uses art and song and music as a way of pushing community forward. And so today you will be getting a performance from Charm and discussion on how she used her music to inspire people around the Crown Act. Syllabus is simple. We're going to talk about what is Crown-inspired legislation. What is it? What is the Crown Bill actually? What does it do? Why community asks for this to be done, and why community advocacy matters. Next slide. All right, so with this slide up, Crown stands for creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. That's all it stands for. But it's while we have this slide up that I'm going to go to my friend Charm, and I'm gonna let you take it away, Charm.
Peace, everybody. My name is Charm Taylor. I'm a mother, I'm an artist, I'm an educator, and in the city of New Orleans have been a part of pushing for justice and equity, using schools as the vehicle, right? So the mission remains equity, the mission remains justice, the mission remains the elevation of our people and improving life outcomes for young people and our families, but just using education and music and advocacy as the vehicle to do that, right? So when I show up in the room today, I show up as a rapper, as an artist, as a mother, right? And it's very clear that my motivation is equity, is justice, is elevation, right? So we call this artivism. And this is when you are merging the worlds of art and advocacy with music and advocacy and art, and you're just letting them live together, right? So some people talk about music with a message, or you talk about artists who have a quote unquote conscious agenda, but really it's about art informing reality. So I'm just representing the voices of many people who I believe have a voice that needs to be amplified through music. A song that I wrote is on my album called She Is the Future. And She Is the Future was all about envisioning a South, specifically the South, because that's where my roots are. I was born in St. Louis, but all of my people come from the Delta, right? So that's Mississippi, right? And when we think about a lot of the first victories toward elevation, a lot of those victories were fought right here in the South, right? When we think about our struggle towards freedom and our struggle towards liberation and our struggle towards advancement, this is the South. This is the battleground for that, right? And so it's important to me to really honor my family's legacy. Though I was born in St. Louis, all of my family is repatriated to the South over the last 15 years. So I've been in New Orleans for 15 years, and I started working on this album called She Is the Future. It's one of 5 collective bodies of work that I have, and it's really about visioning and creating the South that I want to live in, the global South that I want my children to be raised in, and the world that I want to be shaping my children. And so it's really about legacy. Happened at a time wherein this Crown Act was being presented to us as if, it was something we would have to continue to fight for, right? And really thinking about our crowns as a place of victory, as a place and a point. The moment you see me, I think you may know what my politics are. The moment you see me, you might feel like, man, that's a sister who knows who she is and she's proud about it, right? And I wear bundles and I wear braids and I wear extensions and I wear whatever I want, because so much about our autonomy, right? Our belonging to ourselves first. And that is so much about freedom. So what I'll need you all to say is actually the first time I performed this live, I performed it with the daughter of Dillard, who was a choir director at some point here. It's called Sanjay in the Room in Spirit. And it's based on one of my favorite gospel songs of all time is I Shall Wear a Crown. Does anybody know that song? Yeah. When it's all over, right? When it's all over, we're not locking hands and struggle. We've already won. We're already victorious, right? So I'll ask that you say, I'ma wear my crown.
I'ma wear my crown.
I'ma wear my crown, son.
I'ma wear my crown, son.
Mama's got a kingdom. I'ma wear a crown. Yeah, that's it. We almost got it. Malcolm's in the back. That's my son. Mecca's up here. Thank you so much. Here we go. I'ma wear my crown, son.
I'ma wear my crown, son.
Mama's got a kingdom.
Mama's got a kingdom, son.
I'ma wear my crown, son. I'ma wear my crown. Look, mama's got a kingdom. I'ma wear my crown. A gift from above. I did it for love. I already did it for fun. I already did it because, look, I made some mistakes. It raised the stakes. I had my firstborn. I did it for cake. I'm coming for number one. Like I know I'm the one. Look, I'ma wear my crown. I'ma wear my crown. Mama's got a kingdom. I'ma wear my crown. I'ma wear my crown, son. I'ma wear my crown. Mama's got a kingdom. I'ma wear my crown. And my God said I'm chosen. My neck, my wrist is frozen. All the circles closing. I only run with my day ones. Bought a house in them hills. And I'm done paying bills. I ain't done till I leave land deeds in my will. Think I won't, but I will. Unafraid of your leaders. Got some sharks. I can feed them plenty tanks if I need them. Ain't no snakes in this blast. Is our last season. We didn't think they for you. Don't believe them. We here for a reason. Look, I just came through to make sure the check's clear. I just came through to make sure our money's here. Statements on statements on statements when I appear like Queen Charm her. Queen Charm, look, tell him, I'ma wear my crown, son.
I'ma wear my crown.
Yeah, mama's got a kingdom. I'ma wear my crown, son. I'ma wear my crown. I'ma wear my crown. Love, mama's got a kingdom. I'ma wear my crown. My God said I'm chosen. All hail Charms Taylor, baby. She could do whatever, baby. Been talismanic since that transatlantic. From slave ships to spaceships. Tell them I have landed. There's a few seats way in the back, though, when you can't stand it. You ain't never really know me. If you only knew to rock and roll me. If you just met the future soul me, you don't rock with the hood glow me. I don't know you, so don't come for me. Got some young boys and they'll buck for me. Keep my own wines, write my own rhymes. I ain't got time to keep company. I just came through to make sure the check's clear. I just came through to make sure our money's here. And what is she speaking of? She's speaking of holistic reparations. Understanding that my legacy and part of what I have to say is that it's really important to know from a depth of what we're worthy and deserving of our worth and deservance, of our inherent regale. It's not about entitlement, it's about birthright. It's about all of the work our ancestors have already done. We've already toiled and labored. Yes?
Yes.
Last place we left off said we were entitled to the fruits from our labor. And in 2022, going into 2023, what that looks like is holistic reparations. That looks like all of the mortgages and the housing, the loans forgiven, right? When people think about reparations, they're like, it's just a check. It's so much more. Holistically, right? It's the mental health care. Undoubtedly, not having to think about what that bill looks like. A bill for therapy, a grief counseling, right? Land acquisition, jobs, training, you and yours never having to think about whether or not you have you can afford to be trained or to be elevated in education, right? That's off bat, that's off top. And so it's a really doable, practical thing. And not only that, it's already happening in several cities across this nation. They're beginning to pilot reparations programs. And so I want to know where our mayor is, where we stand on the local level and on the federal level. It's not just about H-140, yes. And on the local level, it's something very practical and tangible we can do now, right? Universal childcare now. I shouldn't have to worry where my children will go throughout the year. I should have the time to engage my community. I should have the time to restore myself, right? And that's so much of what that song is wrapped up in that. So when they hear me, like, who does she think she is? Who do you think I am? Right? Who do we think we are? To have the audacity to know our history and know what is our just due. You understand? We have to make our demands known. If we keep showing up to the same, right, we'll keep getting the same. But if we're showing up with new demands, I have some updated demands, right, about my quality of life. And that is your crown. That is your crown. So that's one of the songs on She Is the Future. I'm very, very passionate on this issue. I know that you are, in my lifetime, I'm going to see the fruits. That's what I also know, is that this is a now type of promise. The future is right now, and we're creating it. Thank y'all for showing up here today and for letting me speak with you. And I look forward to some more conversations.
I got those people in my midst. I told y'all, I'm kind of lucky. I'm super lucky. Charm was phenomenal. Thank you. Next slide. So, just like Charm said, and y'all about to answer some questions in a second, so y'all just get ready. But just like Charm said, using art and activism as a strategy, right? And so you all were we were talking a little bit about issues that you all are dealing with, right? Art and activism working as a tandem is a way that gets people's attention. It's a way that connects people. It's a way that doesn't make it feel so heavy, right? And so all of us here use a different art form to push the same message through, right? So you heard Charm and that wonderful, that's one of my favorite songs now, just so you know. But you heard Charm and her song. Y'all see Artemis with her protest clothing, right? What Damien and I do best is we do filmmaking and we do storytelling. And so throughout this presentation, you are going to see different films that we put together around Black women's hair and utilize those films to organize Black women to feel good and to put all the pieces together. We also used it to teach allies in a way that made sense to them, that they knew how to be a good ally and use their voice appropriately to help push something forward that was completely foreign to them. Right. And so one of the things I think that was different about our strategy in Louisiana that from other strategies is that we used art as our primary thing. And so when we were at the legislature, so they're talking to white legislators about an issue that's very deeply entrenched to us that they have pushed back against so many other places, they remembered stories that they heard from the films. And so many white women came up to testify in support because they understood the totality and depth of the issue. So this is one of the films that we have put together. It actually was the first one that we did. The photographs are by a phenomenal local photographer, Gus Bennett. Oops.
Dove recently sponsored a survey that showed that Black women were 80% more likely to change their natural hair to conform to social norms and expectations on the job. So there are a lot of folks who think this new law is long overdue.
Yes, that's right.
So, we're off. Wait, hold on. For some reason, it is off sound. Let's try this again.
That women with kinky and curly hair are often discriminated against, viewed as inferior even. Dove recently sponsored a survey that showed that Black women were 80% more likely to change their natural hair to conform to social norms and expectations on the job. So there are a lot of folks who think this new law is law.
I embrace
Hey,
it.
try to pronounce the sound is off, and so
I never think about it now.
sound is
When I
off a little
first-
bit, so I'm sorry.
Have you ever think about that? I did when I actually first met it, because it was short, because when you stop combing your hair, you have to cut all that off. And so I was afraid when I first went to court, and I got so many compliments, and I continue to get so many compliments. It kind of was like, I should wish I could sue. So, no, I've embraced it, I love it, and, I never think about it now, when I first did it, yeah. But now, definitive, it defines me as a person, and I think people look to it because of the fact that I have it here.
Perms would usually last maybe 6 weeks before we have to get another one. But then that was another thing you have to be careful of, because some of the perms were too strong and they would burn your scalp just as bad. It's a torture process for me now that I look back on it and think about it. It really was a whole thing. For the sake of me, I'm just like I am. I didn't develop that. But the norm was to have the long, straight hair is what was acceptable in society at that time.
California State Senator Holly Mitchell introduced the first law to associate hair as an extension of one's race, which is legally protected.
Terminated because of the way they choose to wear their hair. The way my hair grows out of my head as a Black woman is a trait of race. Everybody can't do it. Everybody.
This happened when I was in New Orleans. This is when I was natural, but I had like a really big fro. It was always red, and I felt like I was like doing politically correct thing with my hair, just trying to keep the fro to where I was in corporate America at the time, so where it wasn't like too much. So like nobody was saying anything to me. Natural hair was still a new concept, and so I moved here, and this was the moment when I was like, I don't think I want to work in the corporate environment. I don't think it's for me. I don't want to be what people think I should be, or people's imagination of me, or I don't want people to tell me what I should be. Like, this is who I always have been. And so I basically cut my hair down to a short taper and shaved the sides.
And I can remember many times there were 3 little Black girls in the class always being asked, can I touch your hair? We all had the 2 braided pigtails or 3 braided pigtails. Being asked, can I touch your hair? Because I'd never seen anything like it. That's why I like Crown, creating a respectful and open world for natural hair.
So, like we said, CROWN stands for Creating a Respectful Open World for Natural Hair, and it's a law that prohibits natural hair or hair-based, race-based discrimination, right? And so the denial of employment, education opportunities because of the texture of hair or the protective hairstyles including braids, locks, twists, and bantu knots, right? And so basically what it does is it takes the definition of race, right? The legal definition of race, and opens it up to include constructs of race, right? Do y'all know what I mean by a construct of race, right? Things that are attributed culturally to a particular race of people, right? And so the way we wear our hair when we're wearing locks and braids and the bantu knots, as you see everyone's wearing here, those are natural ways that we show up. And so it's an extension of our race, right? So it's not just the hair that grows out of our head. The hair that grows out of your head as an afro, that is protected. It's always been protected, right? Because it's just the hair. But the minute you do something to alter your texture, the minute you do something to alter that natural style, that is not protected. So it actually was crazy is a perm is actually not protected. It was preferred, but even you perming your hair is not protected because it's an altering of the natural hair that comes out of your head, right? And so these locks were not protected because it's a change of, it's a hairstyle choice, but it's a cultural hairstyle choice. Am I making sense? Yeah. Okay. This was first introduced in California in 2019. So just so you know, getting a law to stick, right? There's more than one avenue to make that happen legally, right? So one way is to go through arguing things in court, right? And so you feel like something is discriminatory, if you feel like you can't do something because of, race or gender or what have you, you can sue. And then that lawsuit goes up and it goes up to the Supreme Court, it becomes law of the land. They tried that avenue with the Crown, and the Supreme Court would not hear any case dealing with natural hairstyle. So it never got to the point where it went all the way up to become law of the land. So then the next strategy was, then we got to make it legislation. We got to just make it a law. And that's what would happen in 2019 when California started doing the Crown Act. New Jersey, New York were the next states to do it. And then it started picking up momentum. There's a federal bill going through that's doing really well. There's a few states, but the first state in the Deep South was Louisiana this past June. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So why do we need this? And this is why we have these incredible panelists up here. Doctor, can we actually put the lights on so that everyone can see? I said 10 minutes, but I'd like y'all to take your time. And because I want to discuss why this was important. Why Charm wrote that song. Why Cammie decided to talk to me. What Toure navigated with her daughter. And, this one right here, Artemis, has so many spaces that she navigates with this that we're going to get into all of that. So I am going to start with Cameron. Cameron, what was it, and you can pick any of these questions or you can go into it as you want, but why did we need to have a Crown-inspired bill in New Orleans and in Louisiana? Could you talk about?
I think for me personally, I grew up in a predominantly white school and a European French kids school, white kids who were French, I went to a French speaking school. There's also kids who came from like Colombia and Honduras and stuff like that. So I was in my class, I would say, I was the second Black person in my classroom. There was not many Black kids in my school. Now there's a lot of Black kids, but there was not many Black kids in my school at the time. And so they would ask me questions nonstop. Some were like not hurtful, some were like kind of hurtful, kind of got me right there. And so they would come up to me and they would touch my hair and they would say mean things about my hair. They would say, your hair, I had locks, and they would say like, your hair looks like just a bunch of knots, which it kind of is, but that's not the point. Your hair just looks like a bunch of knots and it looks unclean and gross and disgusting. And where they came from, they thought that was okay to say. In France, they thought that like racism doesn't exist. It's just a question. So and for me having to explain it and constantly explain it is so annoying. Like it's so annoying having to constantly explain it. And the thing that got me is when this kid had like a pile of this kid had a pile of leaves and they just put it in my hair. And they put it in my hair and they were just like, why can't you get it out like as easy as we can get it out? And I was like, you ruined my whole hairstyle that my mom spent so long. I'm tender-headed, so it took extra long time. And you spent work. You took all that work and all that time. There's also kids who would come up to me and I would just sit there and they'd come up to me and they'd pull my hair, my braids. And I would pull my braids and they'd be like, why did you do that? And they'd be like, I thought your hair was fake. That's not how it works. And so I was like, told my mom, I was like, it's hurt to a point where it's hurtful. It's like more than hurtful. And I can't even focus on school. When I had locks, or I liked my locks, but I combed them out. I combed them out because I wanted to, but I actually also combed them out because I thought it would look prettier if I combed out my locks. I kind of mixed them now. I thought it would look prettier if I combed out my locks because that's what people told me, that if you comb out your locks that you would look prettier. People at my school said, I like your braids better, and so I combed out my locks. Or they would say, well, I don't like your locks when they're straight, but I like it when you curl your hair. So I would spend like all night curling my hair to have like 2 days at school before they get straight, you know? And so, you know, that's why I felt the Crown Act is necessary and that we needed it, because we all have stories like that, and we all come together like that, like he says that we all come together like that, and so, yes.
Thank you, Karen.
My entire life, up till now, even.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen. Artemis.
First off, kids are cruel. They are some of the most honest, overly honest people, right? Overly honest. And I, for one, went through several stages of my mom. Okay, I grew up in a home where we had a shop in the back of our house. My mom was a hairdresser. In California, she was a licensed cosmetologist. And I remember it was the 80s, everybody had a Jerry curl, right? And then the 90s came, and I still had a Jerry curl. And my friends were like, you still had a Jerry curl, and they were black kids. But this was what was manageable for my mom at that time. And so then it got to the point where I was asking for a perm. Please give me a perm, please. I didn't want the hot comb, because the hot comb was sizzling, and I was intimidated, and I was jumping. And only to get the perm, and my hair started falling out. Tight. And not because my mom didn't take care of it, not because it just was too much. It was too much. It wasn't even for my hair. It was for my hair. And you can fast forward to me going through all these different processes and locks. Cut my hair. I just was telling somebody this. 2004, cut my hair. But by the time Katrina hit, I was fully locked. I was maybe a year and a half in. But everybody, when I say family, friends, around the city, because at that time, women weren't really wearing locks. They were like, oh, but you did that fun. Oh, I'm like, just wait. It's gonna pay off. I'm going through this ugly process with this chicken scratch hair that everybody hates. And I went through crazy jobs because of it. I started working offshore, and the white people on this little cruise, they were like, is it yarn? What's it made out of? And how did you get it like that? And it just became, because now it's come from everywhere. It's not even just the white people who don't know what to say, when to say it, or how to ask questions. It's coming from everywhere. And I'm like super frustrated because I'm like, trust the process, right? Trust the process. And now we fast forward and I'm advocating because I'm seeing officers, Army officers with locks in their head. And I'm like, do you know when I wanted to join the Army, they told me, well, you gotta cut your hair. When I wanted to join the Air Force, well, you gotta cut your hair. When I wanted to join the Coast Guard, well, you gotta cut your hair. And I needed money. So I wanted to join these things because I live in New Orleans and the poverty level is through the roof. And I'm a mother of 2 at this time. I'm probably 19, if that. So I'm a statistic and I'm going through all this flack about what God naturally gave to me and the choices that I was making. So in the choice of making it to locks, I was just like, F it, I'm rebelling out. My mom was like, oh, it's ugly. I was like, well, Samson had them. Let's go Christian. It's in the Bible. In the Hebrew, we ain't supposed to cut our hair, but well, we're in the New Testament. And I'm like, well, the New Testament say, judge ye not. Okay, so
as you are.
okay, thank you, amen. And so I went through all these things, all these issues with my hair, only to finally, at almost 40, be like, bro, what? This is my hair. This is who I am, who I choose to be. I wrote a poem about it because it was just that bad. You know, like, because I had to explain myself why I chose locks. And then, in the process of my life, going through these ups and downs, I told my best friend, I said, I'm going to cut my hair. I'm going to cut my hair. She said, you better not. Now, this was the same best friend who was like, oh, girl, why you did that to yourself? And now she's like, girl, if you don't put it in, look, she's sending me styles. So it's beautiful to see where we have come. And all of these, we need, first off, the Crown Act is a vote, right? You got voted. Our vote matters. Our vote is our voice. And when it comes to things that are detrimental to us, our mental well-being, our community, we need to be voting and opening our mouth. Or else we'll be going through all these ups and downs and emotional roller coasters because of what a man has set aside as social norms, only to change them back, and then rechange them and then put it back.
Exactly.
And now you went crazy in the process, trying to keep up with something that ain't even made for you. Thank you. Well, I'm sorry.
No, you're perfect. I just can't even move this.
I never.
Yeah, so that was good too.
My daughter is even advocating for black hair.
I didn't mean to. Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
So currently my daughter is fighting second-degree murder. She turned 21 and 22 in St. Bernard Parish Jail. I'm raising my grandson, and his father is deceased. And this again is where mental issues, because she went through a thing where she cut her hair all the way off, and I was like, girl, it's so beautiful. She bleached it blonde, and the waves was buttery. She was brushing it every day, and it was beautiful. It fit her little peanut head. I say that to my baby, but it fit her. And the person she was with kind of did not like it, and it caused a rift. It wasn't the only thing that caused a rift, but it was one of the rifts. And it's, why do I have to portray what you like on me? Like, I know you saw me like this, but I like to change my hair. And she's a cosmetologist by trade. In the midst of it, while she's in jail, she's having a problem oiling her scalp. So now it's a medical condition because you can't get grease unless you go to the nurse. You can't get things for your dandruff or your dry scalp, which we have because, unless you go, pay $5 to see the nurse. So not only do I have a medical condition, but I gotta pay in jail to be treated for something that is just natural to me. There's no hair care products on commissary, there's no, so she's advocating it can-to and non-inflammatory because the argument is the stuff that we put in our hair is inflammatory.
So we're gonna try to set ourselves on time.
With the no lighter that we have in jail. With the no lighter we have in jail. So our hair products are inflammatory and you have to go to the nurse to get them. She's advocating for products for black people. I mean, it's a lot of white people that go to jail in Chalmette, St. Bernard Parish area, but it's also black people there. We're there too. And when we there, we got to walk around looking like paint you and don't you. While they get to Chelsea Blue and shampoo and all the stuff for their hair. But she still has the time to advocate for us, even though she's going through what she's going.
Thank you, Rafi. Terry. I also want you all to recognize that a lot of the women that show up here are moms, and we bring our children, we bring our full lives, we bring our full selves in advocacy space. And so as you all are contemplating law school, as you all are contemplating life, there is no life barrier to prevent you from being where you want to go, right? Nothing that prevents you from seeing the full breadth of your dream. I just wanted to center that because you see all these beautiful babies running around, and we get up and we check on our babies while we're doing the work that we need to do. But it's because we can. We are fully capable of doing all of it. And it's just, I really it makes me smile to see these mamas during this Women Law and Policy panel. So I just wanted to center that. Tuari, she writes. We all know that she's gonna write and she's gonna take notes and then she go.
I'm writing down about your daughter because I want to help mobilization. And I was like the same around there. This was in the 90s, so so when my daughter was 9 years old, we had just moved back to New Orleans. So we knew my sister for 2 months. So I put them in school in St. Terry, and God knows I did not want it. But I put them in school in St. Bernard and St. Tammany Parish, Slidell. And Slidell is really white, but be clear, it was black folks. And she was at their schools and stuff is kind of funny. So their middle school, she was in the middle school still like that for a regular. So she I think she might have been in the 5th grade. Anyway, she had locks. I had locks 3 times. I would have had different hairstyles of different colors, all of it. I've never been there. I've been there since 93. The first time I went natural, I cut all my hair. My hair was shorter than this. And so she had locks. I had shades on the side and had a star in her head. And she came home crying because the white teacher told her she couldn't wear hair like this. She couldn't come back to school, couldn't wear hair like that. And then it was the way that she said. And so my daughter is not like me. Aisha colors inside the lines. So she's very mindful, very respectful of authority. She know the business, but she's not gonna speak out of turn. That's just not her. Now behind her back, she gonna crack jokes about it because she's funny. She do all that. My son, on the other hand, that's if he is mama child. And so I'm saying, so what's going on? So she said about her, about her. So for me, as a black mom, first thing I'm gonna do is fight. That's just some of those. Whether it's professional, I told you before, very, very loose. Don't get all the initials behind my name twisted. Because behind my children, you can get these hands. And my sister, one of my younger sisters, who is HR, she has a degree in human resources. First thing she do, go to the computer, pull up their handbook. So she pulled it up and she read the their attire clothes, which does not say anything about locks or shaved head. It did say they couldn't wear them colors in their head, like all them white girls be.
Thank you.
So my sister, and it was so funny, like we changed roles in that because I was too mad. So she said, you gotta send an email and da da da. So in my family, kind of all of us moved together. So me and my siblings. So I have two other younger siblings who are RNs. My other sister is human resources, but she travels, and she does safety for bus companies, travels all over the country. And then my other sister works, she is the assistant to Judge, used to be former Chief Justice, but Judge Candace Bates Anderson, and my older sister RN. So everybody in the text group, my mom is in there saying what's going on. So everybody throwing their 2 cents in, but everybody focused on thinking I'm gonna go beat this lady up. And because I was. And so my little sister was like, no, you're gonna send an email and you're gonna, da da da. So we sent the email and we put the book in there. You know how you can highlight on it? So she and I highlighted all of that. So my sister said, don't go there, just wait to see what happens the next day. So we waited. The next day, same thing. So I'm done. I'm about to keep bringing my baby through this. So the third day I went up there and I asked to see her. So there's an old white lady that sits at the front office. And so she said, well, Miss, at the time I was using I was married. So Miss Jones, we can't just put them out. What's going on? So I told her what happened and told her we sent the email. And my sister CC'd the principal on the email. So the assistant principal. So all y'all knew. So now it's been 42 hours. I'm saying 42. More than 48 hours now, whatever. So I told her, she said, wait, hold up. She said to Aisha that she couldn't wear her hair like that in the shade. That's not a policy. I don't look at the book for that. And I said, exactly. I said, as we've been standing here, they've had multiple little white girls walk past with pink hair, green hair. I don't know what the thing was about the pink and the green, but that was their hair color choice. And which I don't even care about that. I'm just making a point. And so she said, right. And then I was allowed them in the classroom. So she said, well, she's a new teacher. I said, don't new teacher me. I don't care. She's an educator. She's a teacher, because everybody not educators. She's a teacher. She's a leader of that classroom. And she made my baby feel inferior. And I have a problem with that. So she called the teacher she called the principal first. The person, she said to them, Ms. Jones, I saw the email, but I swear I haven't had a chance to look at it. I said, well, now you do it. So she looked at it, she apologized. I said, no, I want to apologize from her. And I want to apologize to me and to my child. And I want to do it with my baby in front of the classroom. Period. And so the teacher came out and she told her, she looking at me, we looking at, we could stand up all day until my nerves get bad and I punch her in your mouth. So the principal said, this has happened, you're embarrassed in front of the class. And she put her head down, she said, well, Ms. Jones, I'm sorry, I didn't know. That's not an excuse for me. Just like the police ain't for excuse for the law, it's no excuse for me. Even your behavior, for you to feel like this, she's 9 or 10. This is just out of grown woman, and you want to do that, and then you embarrass. You didn't pull up. You didn't have the wherewithal to remove her from the classroom and talk to her privately, even if you thought this was a thing. You did it in front of the entire classroom. And my baby is probably one of 5 Black children in this school, so that's all I know who you were. So I get it. And I was mad at myself for putting her in this school. Both of my children resided in a different school because my mama never and very intentionally put us in school with white children. And I put her in this school, and because we were living over there, that's it over there. They already have, and their school is by district, and they look at all of that. They really look at it. So it was no putting her what they call Little New Orleans, it's like that, nothing like that. It wasn't none of that. I had to put her near the school, and they're very, very strict about that. People have literally went to jail, Black people, who want to put their kids in better schools. And these, in the schools that they were in, where my sister lives, these were some of the better schools. So you literally they have mamas that went to jail because they want their kids to go to those schools. And so, and we look at the grades and the level of academia with the school, but we don't look at the socialization and the emotional toll it takes. And my baby came home crying, of course, as a mama, and yes, I won't fight. Everybody could get it. Absolutely. Because that's my job. I'm the first and last line of defense. But I'm not in that space with her. So she has to advocate for herself as you did. But because of the type of child I have, she's afraid to do that because she feels like she's disrespecting an adult. Because she's also been learned to do that as well. You know, so her at 9 or 10 years old trying to understand how to navigate that. How do I communicate to her how she made me feel without looking like I'm being disrespectful? And the messed up part about that is that with white teachers specifically, it always comes off as disrespectful. You know, it happens with Black teachers too, but too often it happens with white teachers. And so I had no choice but to go up there and to deal with it. And I ended up pulling them out of there a month later. So they was only there 2 months. But because she just couldn't no more, you know, and I wasn't gonna cut her hair. I got uncomfortable y'all were, and I'm taking her to go get her hair cut with the design, whatever she want. I don't care if she want her name in her head. She was gonna get it, and she gonna sit up front, and she gonna be studious, and she gonna make all of the grades. I don't care about that. But it's also the trauma that's associated with us not being able to be who we are as Black people. I don't care how you wear your hair. I don't care. Like right now, my daughter is in California school at the high school she's at while she's a dancer at the same school and wear this long weave that I buy. They cost me $200 and some to buy, and then $200 some more to get it done. So I'm paying $500, and then because she's so small, she want it done every month. And she know how to do it, but she want to go to the hairdresser. And I don't care about the hair. I don't care if it's natural. I don't care if you put a perm in, you got a weave down your back, or I don't care. The point about the Crown Act is that it's for us.
Yeah.
However we choose to wear, to stand, the pride that comes, like y'all were calling out different things about when Neil asked you about hair, and y'all were saying the textures. It's also about the pride, the ownership. I could do this because this is what I want to. This is what I remember the first time she did me a wig. Because I just felt like I want to wish she was looking at that. I was crazy. And I was like, I really want it. And we went and got the wig, and it hurt me because it cost so much. But we went and got, because I knew I was only going to wear it. I probably wore that thing 3 times. And she did a cut on it, but the wig ended up being too small. I still stuck it on my head. And she dyed it red, and all these things. But it was mine. And I was flipping that wig. And the children, I'm gonna I'd be funny on my social media. I was all, just whatever, but it was mine. Yeah. It was mine. It's yours. It's yours. It don't matter. And that's what the Crown Act represents. Our entitlement to our hair. If you feel like that hair give you power, then it does. If you feel like that cutting all your hair off allows you to remove trauma and stress, is why I cut my locks off 3 times. Every time I'm going through something, I cut them off. So I've had locks 3 times since 97. Up until after Katrina, I had locks. So like 2012 or something like that. But it was mine. And then I feel free. Then when I feel like growing my hair back, I grow it back. I feel like dyeing my hair, I dye my hair. It's mine to do that. And all of it make me feel special. All of it make me feel powerful. And I don't care how uncomfortable you feel about it. And that's what we have to come around to and push and fight to make this happen. Because I hate to see all the work that my sister did and not just trying to push the positive, but educating people on why this is so important. And yes, sometimes even we need an education on it. Sometimes we do. We don't even realize how powerful we are. We know one of my girlfriends is a master barber beautician. And on the flip side, and hers is called Beauty in a Box. And but on the flip side, she has a foundation where it speaks to how that is how powerful that is. When you look in the mirror, you look good, you feel good. We know that. Y'all know when y'all go to hair, so you sit between somebody's legs, they break, whatever it is. You know once that hair is done and you stand up and now you will prance, you're walking different, you're feeling good. Even when I go get my hair cut, first thing I be in the mirror like this. And then I go put my lipstick on and then my eyes, and my friend who was a bald man, he said, there she go. I said, ooh. And then when I let it grow back out, because they grow fast, when I let it grow back out, I feel the same way. And that's the ownership to it. And I think that it's going to take for all of us to understand the power to possess, not just about the hair, but for the fact that I get to choose.
Yeah.
For us to be able to push this bill along, that Mia put everything into it. And that's what's going to take. Because she did allow it. We can't let this go to pass. And now, like she said, there's so many different states that are pushing these bills and fighting for these bills. Black women, women who understand here. What's the sister name who got the alopecia? The congresswoman.
My dear friend, Congresswoman Ayana.
Girl, look, y'all be up late at night. She going live late, and she talks about she talked about hair. She was very honest about her having alopecia, very honest. And she's good with whether she wearing her bald head or whether she wearing locks or whether she wearing her braids, whatever she's wearing. It's about the right to be able to choose as Black women. I don't care if you're terrified when I show up. I don't care. I don't care how comfortable how uncomfortable you feel. Can I get my work done? Will I get my work done? Am I capable of this? You didn't hire me. If you hire me because of my hair, then that's on you. Because you're missing out on everything else. That's your fault. So we can't let all the work that she did stemming from Cammy go to waste. We can't afford to do that. Because then I'm telling y'all, every time we get lazy on a bill or an act or a law, every time we get lazy, we move ourselves closer and closer and closer back to that plantation. Y'all think it's a game, but it's not. The people are coming for us. Period. And this is bigger than the money. The money means something to them, but it's bigger than that. It is so much bigger. They operate on a how dare you. How dare you come over here and fight for your freedom? How dare you do everything but what I say, everything but what I brought you over here for, and choosing, making a decision, a conscious decision to do what we feel like with our hair is one of those things. And that's how we show that we here to stay. We ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna keep wearing my hair if I want. So we can't let what she did go to. And I know we talk about it, and my sister's in pain about that. And we can't let what she did be in vain. I hate to get on that tangent, but I just really want y'all, because I'm trying not to cry about it, because this is serious. For my baby to go through that, for this baby to go through that, that's a problem. And y'all, I still look at y'all as babies, as my babies, as our babies. But y'all are voting adults. Now, y'all are voting adults. So y'all get to make a difference around issues like this. Next thing on the agenda is going to be women can't vote. I'm telling you, they starting a platform. First is our here. Then it's our right to bring a child in here or not. Then it's going to be, now we're going to let these witches vote. All the power. And it don't make sense to react to it when we knew we could have done something beforehand. And this is something beforehand that we can get involved in. I'm telling y'all, we do that here in this state, is over for them. Is over for them. This is a red state. Even with the Democratic government, he's still red. This is a red state. If we could do what they were able to do when Stacey Abrams ran, even though they stole it, it still changed that state color. Still, if we could do that here, I promise y'all we can do everything else. Even y'all issues with Dillon University. So that's my piece.
So the question was around why this was important, why we had to push on this issue. And my answer is that it is rooted in humanity. So everything that we say we care about goes to a very base core issue. You said life and liberty and pursuit of. You said natural law. You said the natural law. Therefore, I as a person have to be grounded in my humanity. Everything that I experience as a human being has to be humane. What mattered to me, and this is me speaking, both as a school builder, because I helped to support building 3 schools here. All of them needed to be free, even the ones that were in incarcerated spaces, as free as we can make them. What could freedom look like in this space? Because we're not too far off the planet. People will have you thinking that it was a long time ago. And so we're just really getting, we're still breaking chains. We're still breaking chains, and we're starting with ourselves. Well, how we show up. I remember, people, my colleagues and families, parents would push me on this, because sometimes we're the biggest policers on our own selves, right? We're the first ones that are the most unwilling to love ourselves. And that's not a coincidence. That is an artifact of the condition that just happened, right? It just happened. So I don't come into the space judging like you should love yourself inside out, and that should be happenstance, but you got to teach that. So we have to remember a God love, a big love, but we also have to explicitly teach it, right? And so I remember my colleagues and families saying, Charm, you're an artist type, and so you're all into that freedom stuff, but that's not how the world is. And so our kids need uniforms, and our kids need dress codes, and our kids need to conform. We have to teach them how to conform. And I would say break chains. I would say, well, we got to teach them how to be free. I love your locks. I love your twist out. I love your bantu. I love your popping colors, your radiance. That's us. That's signature Black girl magic. And I remember as a young person, I remember the pressing comb. I'm right, young and old enough to remember the pressing comb, to remember Just For Me and the marketing and the Black girl on the box, just for me. Yeah. And I remember that. I remember that shift in the kitchen. It happened in the kitchen in my house. I remember the stinging from the pressing comb and the stinging from the perm being more intense. Then I remember the breakage. And I remember feeling like this thing that was thick and lush and beautiful and growing and healthy and thick and stands on top of my head and defies gravity and cover and coil. I remember that become desecrated and breaking and not of me anymore. And I remember saying, I swear to God, as soon as I'm grown, this was my first act, I will never forget it. In my young person body, in my 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old body, 13, 14, 15, literally waiting until the time for me to leave the house so that I can do what I wanted with my hands. It was my first act of resistance. When I was a junior in high school, I started growing a perm out. Y'all know the process. Started growing a perm out. Then my senior year, I cut my hair right before prom. Showed up with a straw set so icy. With a straw set so fire. With a flower to match the dress. Because we're a colorful people. We are colorful people. We got flavor and sauce. You understand? So all of that was about how do I show up, right, as myself in this moment in time. And I get it. I have a big compassionate and understanding heart for everybody who came before me. My grandma, my aunties, my mom and them, everybody who came up in the culture of acculturation. And that if we could just go into their institutions as respectable and perform whiteness, a variation of ourselves, right? If we could distance ourselves from ourselves, right? If we could say the word just clear enough and articulate it just clear enough, then what? Then we'll outperform them regardless. You understand? But if we just say it clear enough, then they'll accept us, right? That's what we got taught, and again, that was the name of the game. Go into the institution, talk proper, right? Look like them, and they'll accept you, and they'll love you, and they'll stop killing you. But here we are in the incarceration capital of the world, where we have more people enslaved in those prisons, literally incarcerated, than we had during the time of pre-abolition. Literally more people in prison that look like us than we did at the time of quote unquote legal enslavement. So we have issues that when the issues come to us and they look like you have something you could say or you could do, your whole identity is political. It's in your hair, right? It's in the Black boys that we serve in incarcerated and in free school, not being told that they needed to shave their heads because it made somebody else uncomfortable, right? That they need to feel free, just like we do. This wasn't even just a Black woman issue, this Crown Act. This is all of us. This is the Black boys too, who they're using the surveillance data and technology to say that's you. They ain't that. I got so many young boys who would say, "Mama Charm, I gotta cut my hair because they said I'm gonna look like the person they look for. I'm gonna look like the suspect." And so when you start to you go back, it goes back to the core. That's not a preference issue. That's a human rights issue. How I came into this earth as a human, which means you're infringing very closely on my livelihood and my pursuit of life and liberty and happiness. So I locked my hair the very first, brought my hair out first year of college. I went to college in Los Angeles. That was my second act of resistance, was to spread my wings and see what was life outside of where I was. And repatriating to the South 15 years ago, coming to New Orleans, being called to come to New Orleans by an elder I respect very much so, and haven't left because I have been not told that I should be leaving anytime soon. And now my children are from here in this deep South in 2022. And now I have a Black girl and a Black boy. And now they're in a predominantly white school. But the truth is, wherever we are, there's an assault. And if we keep looking at the barrier and saying, I gotta comply, teach your cousins, your sisters, your brothers, show them in the way you move through the world that this world is for them, as you are. So that's why this was very important.
That's what it's important.
Yeah, it's very important. Very important.
So what I wanted you all, and thank you all so much. Also, this, that was heart. I hope you all recognize that was heart that was shared. So you're the lawyer, right? What you are going to learn in law school is how to take a fact pattern and create a path for your client to get what they want, right? So we got a fact pattern here, right? I'm gonna go to the next slide. I'm sorry. I'm gonna play something for you, and then we're gonna get into the fact pattern.
Yes, but I was being truthful. So it's that. So we have data to support that your birth outcomes are improved in communities where you have more political engagement. So that means if you have less voter suppression, more people who represent you, who represent the people who are your issues, right? So when you think about why this is so important for Black people, especially, they love blaming us for our birth outcomes. They love blaming us for our maternal mortality, blaming us and shaming us for our outcomes without ever us having any political engagement. When have we ever had, even in New Orleans, representation
that's reflective of our values, not just people who match boxes. It's 66% Black, so we have 66% of the city council is Black, but really the values of Black women and people who are raising families in the community, and that's across the board. So
we have a fact pattern, right? What's the issue? What's the issue that we're dealing with right now, cross board? From what you heard from everybody, what's the issue at its core? What is it? What's the issue? Hair. But what about hair? What about hair?
Not accepting how it is.
Not accepting how it is.
By expressing our true self.
By expressing our true selves, right?
We wanted to control us.
The control. Thank you. Anybody else? So that's the issue that we're dealing with across board, right? Now, where does it impact us? Where is that harm causing harm to the people who are saying that they're being harmed? Where in their lives are they being harmed? Where did you hear? Mentally? School, education. At a young age, yeah. Within your own community.
And
Financially, money, work, trying to find a job, all that comes across, right? So we have this thing, not being able to wear hair the way we want to, impacting all these different aspects of people's lives, right? It's education, economic sustainability, health. Are those things human rights? Yes. So when we're dealing with something that is harming human rights, now we're dealing with what kind of issue? What comes to mind? At the very top, we're dealing with what? A constitutional issue, right? Because the Constitution is supposed to say that we're able to live life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, right? And there are rules that outline what you can and cannot do. And what we know, just even as a baseline in our community, is that we can't do things harmful to each other based on race. We kind of know that, right? We kind of know that, right? So we're going to go into what the definitions of the words are. And I want you all to chime in and kind of discuss where these things happen, right? So one word that we use often is discrimination. The bill that was passed, we passed it under an anti-discrimination clause, right? So what is discrimination? Discrimination, right, is behavior that treats people unequally because of their group membership, right? So what are some of the behaviors that were happening, that were treating people differently around the Crown Act? What are some of the behaviors that you all heard? Embarrassment. Calling out the Black girls, but not the white girls. Trying to destroy the Black girls' hair in school. What about when Ms. Artemis was talking about trying to join the army, trying to join the state, all of those things. Trying to join everything, right? Trying to get them coins, right? Couldn't join because of, is that an act? Exclusion, right. So the word that also comes up often, and it's not on here, is racism. What is the difference between racism and discrimination? Who knows? Anybody? I want them to answer, but if they, what is it? Do y'all know? Yes.
I think racism is more of a power.
There you go. There you go.
What kind of power? What kind of power?
I was gonna say like a race. Well,
Yes. In class, right?
Oh, okay.
I would say like superior, like that kind of power, like where it's just like somebody has a legislation so it's just like
And those are called systems. So let's put that together.
Yes.
It's what kind of power? Systemic power,
Yeah.
right?
Got a whole system back.
And that's important for y'all to know. I remember being 6 years old, mom made me look up the word racism and nigger. I was 6. She made me look those words. My mom is an avid reader. So we literally had bookshelves in our rooms. She made me look those 2 words up because I'm the one that talk a lot. So she made me look them 2 words up. Racism and nigger. So I always remember to this day I remember what those words mean. So when people always say that discrimination, prejudice, or incest, no, it's not. They cousins, but they're not synonyms.
Exactly.
That's a great way to do it.
So be clear.
Which is very important for anybody doing movement work, period, to be well versed in, right? Because discrimination, that's what you're going after, right? But overall, you know that you're trying to be a system. And we're not just talking about one system. Remember when we talked about criminal justice? We said there's multiple systems intertwined. So there are multiple systems and multiple ways and multiple spaces of power, right? But the behavior is called discrimination. Now we're going to go to another word. Next slide. Oh, sorry. You know what?
Is which our hair, right, is used to criminalize us, right, to push us out of workplaces and workspaces, to cause us to feel inferior or unprepared, right, or that we're undeserving of the same respect or compensation as our white colleagues. Yeah, and I mean, for me, what I've also experienced is this sort of, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like counseling or talking with clients or community members. And it's clear that they've been discriminated against on the basis of their race, right? But they're telling them, she said this about my hair, or, this touched my hair. And I'm like, girl, that's unlawful discrimination, right? But I think even like thinking of it that way and helping our loved ones and our friends and fellow community members come to appreciate it in that way, right? It's not just respectability politics, although I believe it is that, right? It's not just subscription to white supremacy. It also is a form of discrimination, right, on the basis of race.
Right? And so when you hear the client discuss the harm, right? And it's interesting because especially when we're talking about Black communities, communities of color, communities that experience systemic detriment on a continual basis, we internalize it and normalize it. And so often people say, girl, she just said that about my hair. Oh, she just was saying that. Oh, I know I can't. They say I can't get the job because of this, so I'm just going to move on and find another job that allows me to do it, without recognizing and having the ability to fight unlawful discrimination. And so when you hear the fact pattern, what should rise to your occasion is we've got unlawful discrimination happening. What can we do about it, right? All right, we're going to do another word. Prejudice, all right? Prejudice is discriminatory behavior that treats, you know what? No, that's not the definition of prejudice, actually. I have the wrong definition up here. I just realized that, okay? Because prejudice comes from the idea, not the behavior, okay? So when someone is prejudiced, they have negative ideas about people. What's the difference between prejudice and racism?
What's the behavior?
No, well, racism actually can be nice. So you're on the right track, but you said it before. What's the difference? The power, right? So, can Black people be racist?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because we don't have the power to do it.
We have the industry. We don't own enough to be.
I can have the idea, but I don't have a system that's backing my idea, funding my idea.
That's right.
Promoting
So
my
we can,
idea,
but we
upholding
can
my
be
idea.
what?
Prejudice.
Exactly, right? So you've got to have the right terminology when you're fighting this, especially when you're navigating from a movement lawyering perspective. Because the pushback is going to be, well, this is happening and that is racist. No, it's not racist. It might be prejudice, and we can address it from that perspective. The verbiage that you use around these spaces, especially as the person that's representing the people who are being harmed, right, is very intentional and specific.
I have a question. This is kind of making me think about this in a way, right? So if I go back to this perm situation, right, and I think about the 90s, two things were marketed heavily to us: sugar and perms, and for real. And I wonder if all of the marketing was the little girl on the box that looked like me, right? And my auntie, she was young. My mother was incarcerated for she did 10 and a half years as a first offender under Reagan's administration. And so my aunt was really young raising us. She took both of me and my sister at 21. So I say that to say that she was navigating life, seeing what was put in front of her as the thing to do, right? Mm-hmm. Follow me now. And then as an adult woman, she's also experiencing, she's being told as a CNA and then working in nursing, she can't have, to this day, it's like that. You can't have a certain color of hair. You can't have a certain length of hair. What is respectable, what is presentable, what is dress code, right? And so my question is, where is the medium, but what system was there a system that was pushing an idea of what was respectable, and a system that was also excluding from people who did not show up respectable? And if so, is that system capitalism? What is that system that was sort of shaping in our idea of what is acceptable, right? Like what creates a prejudiced mind so that it wasn't just white people who were feeling that way, but that also we were also starting to internalize that. We call it internalized racism. So is the media the system?
I think for like as in this like generation, like the media is big. It's like a lot of people, for instance, for a lot of women, it's like they want the big butt and like this and that. They see what's on social media as well. But it's just like from the old generation, I'm not really sure. But I know this generation, like it's the media that really kind of like, oh, I want to be like that, or oh, this is how you should do it. This is how you should do it. This is how you should do it. If you don't do it like this, then you're wrong or you're not that. You know.
That you nailed it. Nailed it.
I would also like to ask though, how old is the older generation?
I wasn't gonna go there either. I felt it, but I didn't go there. I said the 90s now. We had media too.
The media now is different.
Oh, that was hilarious. Yes, my heart.
I think it's not this generation or younger generation thing. It's the media period. Even in television, commercials, who's portraying, how they're portrayed. So it's not just social media. It's everything.
Yes.
Right? Every type of media, from podcasts, radios, those are all the platforms where things get changed.
So media as a system
Yeah.
that is impacting us. Interesting.
I love this.
Can it also be the money? What I mean about that is like, okay,
The money.
most of our natural hair products are funded and created by white.
Mm-hmm.
White people don't know nothing about our hair. So why are you making products if you don't know nothing about our hair? I don't think, and you know how like the saving rule is property. I think we're not only property, we're money makers. They take our money. That's all they do. Is take. And for you as a what is it called? Somebody who like the salespeople, as a salesperson, my goal is to have you buy this product. So as a white person, you know what I'm gonna do? Get your natural hair product, put this little girl right here, and be like, you can be that girl. But this is the problem. I didn't tell you what my products could do. I didn't tell you, oh, your hair gonna fall out, your hair gonna dry up, you're gonna have this and that. I didn't say that. I feel like it's a money issue and it's white people just taking our money without caring about us at all. Because all they want to do is make a profit off us. They do it with jail. They do it with hair products. They even do it with clothes. They do it with the beauty markets. They do it with everything. They do it with school.
That's right.
We in school to learn, but the education that we're receiving is not that education. It's not real education. It's education that been mixed, washed by white people. It's profit. It's money.
So you got three systems here then. You talk to me about media as a system that is oppressive or racist. Racist because it has the power. Education as a system was just named. And then you just gave me chills because what I was thinking was like capitalism, you were like industry. The whole industry is a system.
Yeah, racism is the overarching system. All the rest of them just funnel into that one big system. And they control all of it. They control all of it. So even like you said about they take, we give to them.
Industry.
That's what I wanted to say. Is it take, or is it give?
Both.
I think it's a combination of both.
It's sometimes a strong arm. Like if you don't give it, I'm gonna take her.
I'll smother it. I'll see it in the media. I'll watch your pay. I'll watch I will culture bulge.
Yeah.
I'll see the product and I'll offer you. And many of my sisters, my mother went through this with her line of natural hair products and body care being offered. You understand? We'll offer you something at Whole Foods. And my mama was like, okay, well, if I put it at Whole Foods though, and then I have to raise the price, it means that the people who I need to have this can't afford it, right? And then some people do take the deal, right? And they're like, hey, I sell my brand off. Carol's daughter did it, right? Industry. It was that fish. It's like, if I'm still a small fish, I'm trying to swim. How am I going to compete with everything that's at Walmart and at Target and right? So I think it's a strong institutional harm and arm for sure.
I think we have to redefine what beauty is.
Yes.
And so the thing is, once we redefine it, then we'll be able to control our own
system,
process and system around what it is. Because right now we have a Europeanized definition of what beauty is.
Yes.
So if we get back to our natural beauty and what it is, and I think it starts with women, but it also starts with us men accepting our women for who they are.
Yes.
And not having to essentially want them to look and change to be someone else they're not. And so I think it's going to take both men and women to recognize.
You're getting a lot of amens up here too, because you're coming back to self-reliance. So you kind of fending off the system because you're like, all of the best hair care, outfits, all of it come right out of our kitchens, out of our neighborhoods, out of our families. My sister braided and did my hair. When I want to get laid, I go right to the place right often. But most of us are reliant on an outside source to say, oh, it gotta go look like this, or it's gotta be this brand, and it's outside of my community. So then there is this conflict there. There was a wonderful part.
The sister, our baby who come every Tuesday.
So going back with what kind of Olivia was saying, it's like even in our own life, because my mom, she's fit, she just turned 50 last month, and she was raised way differently than how I was raised. And when she was growing up, what was the cultural thing was the skinny white women, the models, the Victoria's Secret, those people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, it's different for Black girls who look like me. I'm very petite, I'm very skinny, slim, and especially with Black men, if they make it so hard, because it's like if they want a skinny woman, they want a white woman, and if they want or a light skinned female, I'm brown skin, and I love myself, but it's even harder to love yourself when your own people don't love you. And when you sit here, you have your father telling you should look a certain way, your brother's telling you to dress a certain way, your mom telling you that you look a certain way. My whole mom's side of the family, they call me olive oil growing up because I was so tiny and slim, and they were the thick women with the voluptuous booty, small little waist and everything. And it's, of course they were just joking around with me, but they don't realize how it starts in the home.
Staying, girl, them jokes were staying. Shaming me too, girl. And you know what? You still here.
The fads change every few
years, every generation. By the time we have kids and grandkids, skinny probably gonna be back in. But it's like it changes so much that we as Black women can't keep up with it because now everybody's looking for the Jada Waiter girls. The girls with the big old booty, the little
what girl? The other generation didn't get that.
They were natural BBLs, because my mom, I mean, thick. I mean, thick, right? So, and people don't even think that we related because our body types are so different. She's, got the big titties, the big booty, everything. She is the BBL, right? So we don't even look alike body type wise, but in the face she my twin. And people love to comment on there like, oh, when my friends meet her, they're like, oh, what happened to you? What you mean what happened to me? I'm like, how am I to compete?
All the goodness happened to me.
Exactly. And then it's so much competition between each other, and it breeds just confusion between. And it's easier for white people to control us and manipulate us when we are confused within our own self. We can't even get along with each other.
So that's why
We're still learning that. We're still learning.
and that's their goal.
And it has to be explicit, just like Nia is saying we're explicitly going on talking about what discrimination is and what movement lawyer is, and y'all are sitting down in class, right? It's an explicit teaching. So is Black love. So is self-love. So is acceptance, right? And so when it's happening, I think kind of like you said, thinking about what was that generation striving towards? They were striving towards acceptance. Right? In our generation, in this shared time, in this shared timeline, in all of us in this room, what are we striving for? And I think what we all have in common is that we're striving towards a freedom.
And they're still, these voluptuous Black women are still struggling in that space because they're now the term is a Dominican butt lift or whatever they call it. You're still not attributing that to Black women who always been built like that. Yeah. So you taking that. You know what I mean? You take that. Even now with the thing that let me tell you what kills me, the twerk classes that the white people are giving. And first you our people shamed us about twerking, not understanding it is akin to the continent. I don't care what tribe. They all were doing it. I wrote a poem about that years ago. And let me tell you, when I was 18, 19 years old, going to the clubs here, I would go get it was called a pee-popping contest and win. Because I love the dance. Love it. So I told y'all that last week. I love the dance.
What did it make you feel?
Everything.
Did it make you feel accepted or free?
It made me feel free. And I don't even care. You know how they say there's nobody watching? I want all y'all to see. I'm doing it. And I'm doing all of that in my time whenever I feel like it. But I still can turn around and fight. I can still lead 3 organizations. I can still do that thing too and raise my children, be a good mama, try to be a good wife, all of these things. But that's what freedom looks like. I'm emotionally free. I'm spiritually free, and I'm physically free. I grew up dancing. I grew up I was a rapper before Sweet Tea took my name. Y'all probably know what Sweet Tea is. Way before y'all time. Way before Fox and Brian and Lil Kim. Way before that. This sister was fire, but that was my name. So growing up as an artist performer and all these things, and then you come and even take that away. So the fight for us is never ending. But the other piece of it though is that something that that Charm said that I stopped doing years ago is I'm not fighting in that way anymore. My thing is preparing now. It's preparing for when we get freedom that y'all have space. That's my role now. I told you I've been in this fight a long, long time. So I did all of that. Now I have to move because I'm an elder. Now. And so now but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because that's my role. When I started, they had people I could name, Mama Jennifer, Mama Vera. They just told somebody she was volunteering. I was when she was a teenager. and I was a teenager. So these are people that I've been around, all the Panthers, all of them raised me, all of them. So these people I've been around, and they were the age I am now. And so now I'm that age. So yes, I wear that crown as an elder, because eldership is a crown. Or because you can just be an old person. I'm an elder, so I received that. But I'm an elder that still like to have a good time. That still like to go out today Tuesday. So so
You said joy?
you
You said joy and
all day. Joy is all, because we can have all.
Yeah.
Right? We can have all. So as beautiful as you are, as petite, you petite like my baby. And people, and she even says that. Mommy, why ain't get your legs? Why ain't get your, because you got your own legs. You got your own shape. You got all that. No, you didn't. And I was skinny until I started feeling out when I got old. When the one time I was in my 20s, till I started feeling out. But I was small, and my sisters been fine.
Yeah.
Been fine. Then they bow-legged, and back. I don't know about now, but back then, men like bow-legged women. But they was big fine girls. My sister, and they was short. So I'm the tall one, and I'm skinny. I always had hips, so I was skinny with hips. And then I started feeling out. So my baby is little, and she shaped it, but she tiny. But I love my tiny baby. That's my baby, and I want her to love herself.
And that's why we have to, I truly believe that, because I don't think that my mom talked about it enough, because she thought that I was unappreciative of being skinny, because she looked at it was like, well, when I was growing up, I wanted to look just like you. But that's the time. Yeah, but the time that I'm living in is different from her. So we need to learn that.
Because everything is
We
on
need to
social
respect our children's feelings and how they feel about.
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter how you grew up and how you felt. We need to just do better.
Yeah, we just have enough space for all of it. For the wisdom and the new ways, right? And I've been around enough young people to know when they say, oh, these young people different. Oh, yes, they are. Give thanks.
They didn't answer.
Give thanks. Give thanks. I want to make sure those over here, before, because I can.
They can try.
Okay, so what I was gonna say, it kind of contributes to what everybody's been saying so far. I feel like we can attain both joy and justice, as we're saying, by dismantling the idea of even having to define it.
Come on
That's
now.
where it's all coming from.
Come on now.
If we don't define it, it won't change every generation because nobody cares.
Right.
Yes.
It be understood,
Right.
right?
She's like, I was waiting to just drop that low nugget on you. I appreciate it. What I'm saying?
I love it. Yes.
You guys kind of touched on what I was gonna say too, but I was just gonna say it's a mindset thing, and we're saying find the definition. I feel like you should just try to find your own within, and then also to not take what people say personally, because they're probably gonna try to make that agreement in your head of what they want to think of you. So even with black men and stuff, just if they want to date a black woman, just you attract who you are. So you continue to try to work on yourself and what you know about you. You're gonna surround yourself with what you want to be.
They say, the Bible says, out of the mouths of babes, there's a passage, right? And it's coming from you guys.
That's right.
I'm not that much older than you guys. No, I'm not. But I still look at you as babies, because my oldest is 22. She's older than probably some of y'all, or not most of y'all, because y'all in our first year. But I listen to her a lot. She ain't listen to me, but I listen to her a lot, because my mom didn't listen to me. She didn't hear me saying, but she heard me about that perm though, because I was really pushing that perm. She should have said no. That's the one thing she should have really stood her ground on. But she stood her ground on other things, and like you said, we have to do better. Even as the parents, we have to listen more. We have to be more understanding and in the community of what we all are going through, because I don't know what you went through. I don't know what I went through, but I have to take everybody on an individual basis, and they grouping us together.
Yes.
They grouping us together, and we ain't we don't come from the same background. We might be coming from the hood, but you St. Louis, I'm South Central, I'm New Orleans. They're different, even though There's still the ghetto.
They think we all, just cause we got black,
We all
so
don't
we
preach
check
it,
the
but we
black
not.
box, don't
We
mean
not.
that we all
We
grew
not.
up in the same situation.
And that is called a what?
Stereotype.
Stereotype.
Yes.
And stereotype is lumping groups of people together. Yeah, y'all got it. We're going through the definitions and all that, but y'all got it right on the nose, right? It's stereotyping, right? And now stereotyping can be good or bad. You know what I'm saying? There's some stereotypes that I will take. Ooh, black girl magic. Yeah, we all magical. I will take that stereotype and take it to the bank. But the idea of lumping people together, that's what stereotype is. And so when you are hearing and doing this work, that's the words. And the reason why I'm pushing definitions with you guys is because in doing this work, words matter.
Yes.
Words matter. And your ability, because what your job as movement lawyers is going to be, and I'm telling you, I think all of us are very comfortable saying we are really excited about the movement lawyers that will be coming through in the next few years. So just know that. But as movement lawyers, you got to hear all of this and you got to absorb all of it and know where to put it so you can give community the best argument so they can get the outcome that they want. Does that all make sense? Awesome. I'm going to skip a couple of slides. I'm going to go all the way to the end. Here we go.
So what was
sorry. So this point is when I say that young people were the crux of how all this got started. Damien and I do a project every so often called Cyber Justice, where we teach young people how to be social justice filmmakers. And our ask is for them to take an issue that is important to them and convince the adults in their lives to move on the issue using film and do it in 1 minute. We had a group of girls that we did it with during the pandemic, and you told them to choose 2 issues, and the 2 issues they chose were Black girls' hair and voting. And this poem is a poem that they came up with. One of their girls, Layla, it's a poem that she came up with. This is her 1 minute film around Black girls' hair.
What's hair got to do with it? I spent all day getting my hair done just to have you tell me that it's a distraction? My hair is a part of me and something that makes me feel happy. So why would that stop people from learning what's hair got to do with it? My freshly done braids, my radiant melanin drip waves, and yet I'm told that my braids are not of God's ways. Also that I will be suspended for days if that's the case. Now how come my white peers get to dye their hair in different colors and cut their hair in different ways? What's hair got to do with it? Instead of compliments today, I was met with stares, and my hair determined my fate. I went home crying because I just couldn't understand how such a beautiful part of me could get me banned. What's hair got to do with it, you may ask? When you're caught appropriating our culture once again, a culture that is not meant for you but meant for me, what's my hair got to do with it? Everything. My hair is beautiful. My hair is authentic. My hair is me. I will not give you control over this beauty, so I will continue to wear my hair in every style because my beautiful hair adds to my beautiful smile.
Yeah. Period.
So I'm gonna close because we got babies and but I did want to leave with this one last
Wendy
thing.
and Leah said everything that needs to be said. At the end of the day, we just want to be ourselves. That's what the Crown Act is about. It's not that you have to wear natural hair. It's that you have the choice to do what you think is best for you and not have to weigh the ramifications of what is somebody going to think about this. Is it going to affect me economically, right? Like, we just want freedom to make choices for ourselves, to proclaim our own beauty, to claim our own spaces, and not be judged for that. And that's it. That's it. We don't think we're better than anybody else, though. Black America.
All right. So we are going to close. I am really, really excited about the time that I got to spend with you guys during these last 3 workshops. I am really excited to see who you guys become. It is an honor and privilege for all of us to be a part of your journey. I am really grateful that they came like consecutively. This is the group that came.
You said they show up?
They show up. They showed up. They showed up. They showed up. You all should be so proud of yourselves because that's what it takes to be a movement lawyer, right? You all have everything you need. Getting the LSAT, we gonna get that. That ain't nothing but practice and study, right? Law school is nothing about learning and reading and understanding how to take a fact pattern and apply it to community and give people the space that they're trying to get to. You've already done it. So not one day when you're in law school, when it's hard, when it's tough, when you're tired, think that I cannot do it because you've already done it. You already know all the pieces. No matter who you're competing against in class or what have you, you already have it. I want you all to feel proud of yourselves and confident in whatever choice you make in life, because you made the choice to be here to learn, to grow, to be better, and do it in a way that serves other people. Y'all should be so doggone proud of yourselves. I know we're proud of you. So I'm giving y'all a hand. All right. I think there's pizza, I know, in the back. So, feel free to get y'all. I'm sorry, it's cold. Oh, yes. So Thursday. We gonna have a good time on Thursday. So Thursday we are screening Detangling the South, and I'm gonna play the trailer in a second. But we're gonna be screening Detangling the South. It's when Damien and I had at the end of the election cycle of 2020, we did a road trip to 5 cities in the South, telling the story of Black women civic engagement. So we did New Orleans, Birmingham, Selma, Atlanta, and Miami. And told incredible stories of Black women in civic engagement from a different perspective. So instead of telling the story of John Lewis on the bridge, I know the Bloody Sunday, and we hear about John Lewis, we told the story of the Black women that organized and were on the bridge, right? Thank you. So really, really excited. We are premiering the New Orleans episode in New Orleans right here at Dillard University on Thursday. We are having poets. We're having the incredible Charm Taylor will be performing again. So, y'all want your friends to come see Charm. We have Black women across the city that we're honoring. Damien will be here, so y'all finally get to see his face. And we're gonna do an artist talk back with some of the people that are in the film. And then we'll have a reception right here. And I would love for you all to come because I'm gonna look to you guys as my experts, because you already know how to do this, right? It's gonna be a really good time. So come out on Thursday. Also throwing out there, sorry?
It's 5:30.
So we're starting at 5:30, but the screening itself doesn't start till 7. So the program will start around 5.